champion or something?
Yeah, he
The-
is, isn't he? Wait.
The Scholastic High School Overwatch Championship.
Whoa, that is a
Yo.
title, dude.
They have an Instagram.
They do. I'm seeing this right now. This is magical.
Oh my.
Can't escape me, Evan.
Evan used to stream.
He streams. He just doesn't tell us.
No,
Liar.
Alex is lying.
You don't have to lie to
Evan.
us, Evan. We're here for you.
I will reach out to you later to ask you questions about streaming.
I don't know how to stream.
Alejandro's gonna
Jacob.
ask you questions.
Well, I don't stream. What?
Jacob
Why are you
streams.
putting this on me?
Bro,
Hey, has
Jacob
no one
streams
streamed
Genshin
before you?
Impact.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Wow.
Dude, I played like 10 minutes of Genshin Impact.
That's cool.
But did I hear Genshin Impact?
Oh no.
No.
Oh, Justin, please.
No.
No,
no,
no.
no.
It's
That should be rule number 1 here, okay?
ban.
No Genshin, only Hack the Box.
Only
Yes.
Only
Can we make a
Roblox-
bot in our
Roblox
Discord
allowed.
that like it sees Genshin and it just drops something in
Bans,
chat?
Auto
bans you.
bans you.
Yo, Twitch hack
Yeah.
the box stream.
Just turn off game activity.
If we see any streams in the Discord that's not like any Linux things, then like that's bad.
Especially if it's Windows things.
I like Windows.
I love Windows.
I know you love Windows.
Okay. It's almost 12:05, but we'll just get started here. If you haven't signed in, sign a link somewhere in the chat. I'll put it again. Okay. Let me try again. Looks like it doesn't let me copy. There you go. Sign the links over there. Please sign in if you haven't already. I don't know what Jacob's doing, but good look at that as well. But anyways, welcome everyone to our second general meeting of the semester. We'll be going over AWS for today, for the general meeting today, and for the workshop on Friday. If you haven't signed in, please sign in already. Our Discord link is also on the slides over there. And next, we'll go into announcements. We have paid memberships for this semester. You get to qualify for getting cool swag. We have t-shirts. We actually have the t-shirts in the lab right now, so we're ready to give them away. We have paid member raffles. You can get prizes during certain events that we have for Swift and other things as well. We have other goodies. This semester, if you're a paid member, you can get a Swift stole if you're graduating. You also can get extra stickers like orbital weapon stickers. We're planning to get a new batch of like our Swift Discord stickers into physical form, so that would be really cool. And other benefits that you get for being a paid member include being able to vote for e-board elections and the ability to run for e-board elections or e-board positions. The membership link is on in the bottom of the slides. It's only $20 for the semester, so if you haven't become a member yet, I urge you to do so. You get really cool things. Pay to win, pay to support cybersecurity clubs. Some more announcements. Speaking of e-board elections, they're going to be opening up soon. If you're passionate about cybersecurity and want to give back to the community and get other people excited about cybersecurity, this is the job for you. Again, it's only paid members only, but this is super cool, exciting opportunity to be a part of. And we have Tech Symposium coming up on Saturday, March 19th. This year, you get to network with industry professionals and hear about really cool stuff going on in cybersecurity. It's going to be online, but we can assure you that it's going to be hell of an experience. Another announcement we have, Swift member survey. So we're having the survey to reach out to you to see what you want in cybersecurity and see what we can give you better for our general meetings and workshops. So the link is on the bottom below. I could copy and paste it, chat. Swift member surveys in the chat now. So if you haven't done the survey already, then please do so. Last but not least, we recently got, like all of us probably recently got an email saying that classes will be in person starting next week. So we will be also returning in person next week. We'll give you more information on that, but we're planning to have it both in person, but have it live streamed so that people that are not able to come on campus or go to classes remotely will still be able to be part of the experience. So we're all really excited to be and see you, be in person, see you all in person. I think it'll be super cool to meet all y'all, meet everyone here. So stay tuned for that. We'll get more information in the next upcoming days. Without further ado, we're here to present about AWS. Both me and Jacob will be presenting about AWS. We'll talk about first about what cloud computing is. Then we'll talk about kind of what in general AWS is at a glance. Jacob will be taking over to talk about the services in AWS, and then I will return back to do a demo on some of the AWS tools like EC2. So first, what is cloud computing? So you probably hear different terms being thrown around when it comes to cloud computing. If you're taking like a cybersecurity class or 2670, for example, some of the terms you might hear is like cloud computing is on demand, pay as you go. Cloud computing can be described as being scalable, elastic, flexible, being able to spin up things and delete things at a very instantaneously. Some critics of cloud computing might say it's someone else's computer, and it's a little true. I'll get more into that in a little bit. If you've taken Dr. Bennett's class, he basically says the cloud is the internet. So basically, everyone has like a bunch of different definitions for cloud computing. So it's important to know to see what it can be used for instead of having like a small opinion on it. But if we look at the NIST definition of it, NIST basically stands for National Institute of Standards and Technology, which is like an organization from the government that creates a bunch of frameworks and definitions. They have like tons of documents on stuff. They have their own definition of cloud computing, and they have 5 different descriptions of cloud computing. On-demand self-service, which is basically means that you get to do things what you want without needing external human interaction. Another one is broad network access. So being able to access your services anywhere, from your phone to your laptop to your desktop, that is what it means by having broad network access. Resource pooling. Servers are shared with other customers, and that allows you to not have to worry about some of the finer details, such as how much memory you're using, how much RAM you have left, how much storage you have left. So all of your services and other customer services are pooled together in different data centers across the globe. Rapid elasticity. So being able to provision or release capabilities based on demand, and measured service. And this is kind of the thing I like to think about when it comes to cloud computing versus traditional IT technology. Being able to view cloud computing as a utility rather than an expense or like capital expense. So these are kind of like what NIST describes as cloud computing. You can have your own definitions and your own opinions, but this is important to note that these definitions kind of differentiate what cloud computing is to typical servers and other physical hardware that you have. So that's a little bit about cloud computing. If you do have any questions on this, then feel free to put in the chat. We'll be happy to answer you. Now, we're going to go into AWS. So what is AWS? They market themselves as the leading cloud platform, and it's kind of true. They're pretty big. They say they have the most functionality out of like any other cloud service. They have a pretty large community. Thanks, Alex. Pretty large community of customers and other people that are able to like support AWS stuff. They say they're really secure, and I'm not sure. They could be secure. I'm not sure exactly how secure they are, but I'm pretty sure that they are pretty secure. But they're also like leaders in innovation and advancements in the technology. So they're always like bringing up new services, bringing up new things because they're always somehow ahead of the curve when it comes to cloud computing. So it's really important to know like how to use AWS for this because a lot of companies do use AWS, and it's really, I wouldn't say it's definitely new, but it's going to be more common in the future as more companies start adopting to the cloud. I know Cal Poly Pomona, for example, is using AWS to move all their like existing infrastructure to the cloud. So being able to know how to navigate through AWS and use AWS to do certain things is going to be a really essential skill in the future. But to kind of show how big AWS is compared to other cloud technologies, I'm going to show you a chart here. This is the Gartner Magic Quadrant, and I don't know like what the finer details about this quadrant is, but basically it kind of shows like how good companies are compared to each other. And the scale goes from like the bottom left to the top right. So technologies the technologies that are more in the top right area of the chart are like the most advanced. So AWS is clearly the best according to the Gartner chart. You probably heard of other cloud technologies like Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, Oracle Cloud, but based on the studies that Gartner has been doing, it seems that AWS is the leader in cloud computing. So once again, a lot of companies probably use it. It seems to be pretty good. I've used it. I think it's pretty good. So it's important to know how to use it and how to navigate around it. Another important part of cloud computing, and I'm going to talk about this in more AWS style, is the pricing model. So AWS talks about how their pricing model is mainly about pay as you go. And what does this mean? This means that you only pay for the resources that you use, and everything that you don't use, you don't have to pay for. So if you're only using like 60% of your services, then you only pay for that 60%. And that is like really good for companies to know if they're deciding to buy servers or equipment or just go to the cloud. A lot of companies don't know exactly how much infrastructure they need. And when you think about buying servers and buying physical infrastructure for your company or for any organization, you kind of have to estimate how much you need, but then you have to buy more in case you suddenly like have to expand. So it's a really like clunky process on getting servers and getting equipment to run the servers. So this pay-as-you-go model really helps benefit companies to save costs on infrastructure and any like computing technology they need. The next thing that AWS has is saving when you commit. So if you decide to like spend like use more of a compute service or any service in AWS, you save more. So let's say, for example, you can have an instance that runs for like only 1 day, or you can have it run indefinitely, but you're only paying per hour, I think, on those services. If you reserve for a year or 3 years, you save per hour. You save more bucks per hour when you spend when you reserve instances on AWS. So it makes you kind of think about the long term on how you plan to use AWS, and this is important to know for companies that are looking to save more money on resources. Pay less by using more. So as more customers go into AWS decreases its prices. And because AWS is like pretty big already, I don't think they're gonna like run out of customers soon. So over time, their prices are going to keep decreasing because of economies of scale, which is good for us because if we want to like explore more about AWS or play around more with AWS, we don't have to spend as much because everyone else is trying to jump onto AWS. But AWS also has a thing called free tier. And basically that means that if you're new to AWS, if you're a new customer in AWS, you have, you're part of this tier called free tier, AWS free tier, and you have free access to many of the services that usually cost money. So I think, like, for example, for EC2 instances, which we'll talk about later, you have 750 hours free for certain sizes. But this allows you to play around the AWS and get to learn the infrastructure a little bit more, so that you can either, if you're working for a company, you can, provide a business case on why your company needs AWS, or for educational purposes, you're studying for a cert. This would be really good to play around with for those cases. With that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Jacob to talk about all the different services in AWS.
Okay, cool. So thank you, Taylor, for that presentation. So there are 165 services, and we're only going to be talking about 3, because that's a lot of services. And you can see here we have at least 11 categories that each of these services fit into. Again, we're only going to be talking about 3, which is the compute, network and content delivery, and storage. But as you can see here, there are a lot of interesting categories, such as machine learning, mobile, AR and VR. So it just goes to show how much AWS can offer in terms of what kind of services you can run, and it can really tailor to your business. So the first one we're going to talk about is compute, which is basically providing the processing power to run your application. An example service of compute would be EC2, which is just a virtual machine that represents a physical server for you to deploy your application. So just think about it like a computer in the cloud, right? It's you can configure it with a web-based interface. You can initialize it. Everything is basically done on web interface, but you can go into the console and configure it. The web interface lets you purchase and control your computing resources on Amazon's computing environment. So the first feature I'm going to talk about is instances. So instances are basically different types of EC2s, right? So with different types, you have different combinations of memory, networking capacity, storage, and CPU. So yeah, instances equals VMs. But yeah, the different types are basically for based on your needs, right? Based on what your application needs. So you can have as much memory or networking capacity or storage as your application needs to actually run. The next thing I'm going to talk about is pay as you go. So we're going to be talking about on-demand instances, which is the only thing you need to worry about for now. But it's where you pay for compute capacity by the hour or the second, depending on which instances you run. So obviously, you're going to pay more if you have an instance type with more memory, network capacity, storage, computing power. So it's you're charged by the hour or the second, depending on which instances you run. But yeah, so next is AMI, which is Amazon Machine Image, which is basically a pre-configured package required to launch an EC2 instance. It's one of the first things you configure. First thing you specify when trying to make an EC2. So think of it as a template, right? A template you can use on multiple different instances that you want to create. This means you can launch many instances from as many different AMIs as you want. An example of this would probably be like a WordPress AMI, right? Because it comes all pre-configured with like LampStack and stuff. You don't have to go and suffer through LampStack to install WordPress. You can just select the AMI and then it's up. It does it for you, which is very powerful for an EC2. But yeah, so key pairs is basically how you log in to your EC2 instance. You're going to have a public and private key, where AWS stores the public key on the instance that you want to connect to, and you store the private key on your local machine. So this is more for like SSH and remotely connecting onto your instance. But I just wanted to mention that so you know how to get into the actual machine if you want to make any additional configurations once you make it. But next thing is auto scaling. So you want to ensure you have the correct number of Amazon EC2 instances, because you might have multiple running the same application, right? And you would actually have to pay for each of those instances. So EC2 instances available to handle the load for your application. So an example would be a developer wants to configure auto scaling to launch 2 EC2 instances when CPU utilization is greater than 50%. So only when that condition of 50% or more is met is elastic, or auto scaling is what the the feature is called is going to create those 2 extra instances. And once it's below 50%, it's going to take away those 2 instances. So you're going to be saving a lot of money because it's scaling to how much workload your application has, right? So it's another really good feature. Security groups are basically a virtual firewall for your EC2 instances, controlling incoming and outgoing traffic. By default, all outbound traffic is allowed. So anything going from your host to like outbound is going to be allowed, but inbound only SSH connections are allowed because that's how you go to the system. You can change this through the initial configuration, but I just wanted to mention that just in case like the web server is not coming up. But yeah, because then port 80 would be blocked for inbound. But yeah, so next thing I'm going to talk about is storage. An example of a service for storage is S3. So which stands for Simple Storage Service. As you can see, it's represented with the bucket. You can store a lot of information in it. So to really understand what S3 is, you have to understand how you would like make your own storage repository like physically. It is expensive and time consuming. First, you have to buy dedicated hardware and stuff, and then hire the staff to actually keep that storage repository going. And then if you wanted to add more capacity, that also costs more time and money. So guessing how much, and also guessing how much you might need in the future is hard. Getting it wrong could lead to servers not being used or needing more storage, right? So I have some example stuff you can store in an S3 bucket, such as files, images, static websites. So you can put actually HTML files and CSS to make your own static website. You can't do anything fancy. You can't make it into a WordPress server, but it's pretty good. You can also put analytics data from IoT, and that goes to the idea that maybe you might have data that you don't know where it's going to go. So you need a place to store it that isn't going to take up, that you only pay as much as you take up. So that goes into the idea that S3 is safe and secure, is a safe and secure way to hold the information used by your application and access it at any time as you need. So for example, I stored an image of Chet Apachart on an S3 bucket, and you can access it publicly with that URL I sent a long time ago. I'll probably send it again later, but yeah, that one. And S3 also makes copies of your data across multiple facilities. So if one facility goes down, you still have the data backup in another. But yeah, there are different ways. There are different types of storage services that can tailor to based on your need. So for example, you might not access the files in an S3 bucket as much as other files. There is an S3 bucket that can tailor to your need and give you a cheaper option. But yeah, that just shows the flexibility of AWS. But next thing I'm going to talk about is VPC. So VPC, it does networking for you, is from my words. You can quickly spin up a virtual network infrastructure that AWS instances can be launched into. So on the left-hand side, you see I have a diagram I took from AWS. As you can see, there's 2 VPCs. There's one subnet, and you can see the instances inside of it. The main takeaway from this is you can put instances inside of VPCs, and then it works because AWS does networking for you. There are a lot of features to VPC, such as agility, which provides full control over the size of your network, such as like the subnet, how many instances you could have. But yeah, you can deploy and scale resources at any time. Security, although VPC is part of the public cloud, it is logically isolated networks. So your data and applications are entirely separate from your provider's other clients. Access is limited to the resources you have on it. So you can grant more access if you needed more access to those resources. But yeah, affordability, VPCs are cost effective. You'll save money. Sorry, I was looking at chat. VPCs, you'll save a lot of money on hardware, labor, and other related cloud resources because you're not setting up the, I'm sorry. You're not setting up the switches or the VLANs or the routers. It just does it for you, you know? But yeah, you would save a lot on that. The cloud provider would be responsible for the actual physical servers that actually create the VPCs. But other than that, it would be very cost effective. Availability is in availability terms, it offers redundancy and fault-tolerant availability zones, which we'll talk about later probably, to decrease downtime and keep applications and workloads available for your clients. But yeah, that's pretty much it for VPC. And now we will go to Taylor's demo.
Yes. By any chance, is anyone interested in taking the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam, or thinking about it at least? All right, cool. If you do have any questions on the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam, you can reach out to both me and Jacob. Both of us took it, so we can give you like lots of advice on what to study for. But I'm gonna go into AWS, and AWS.amazon.com is where you want to go. Sometimes if you like taken classes in AWS, it'll go to like the instructor page. But it's important to go to the actual AWS site. So you go into here, and you can all see the screen, right? Where it says AWS. I'm scrolling down.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you go into here, and it's like a lot of stuff. A lot of different things that you can do. It kind of might be an overload, but I'll try to make this simple. And it's really cool too. Like if you're really down to learn about AWS stuff, like they really give you tutorials in the beginning. They seem really cool. They seem like really easy to do as well. So if you're really down to learn more about AWS and get some hands-on experience, I think these are really cool to go through. Anyways, I'm going to sign in into my account. Put these in here. All right, and I am in the console home, and I've done a little bit of, I worked with AWS a little bit on here, so I'm gonna have a recently visited tab in here and some like other stuff going on. So there's some like documentation I have on the side. You can see some of like statistics as like dashboard statistics in this homepage, some wizards and other tutorials. There's AWS Trusted Advisor, which I forgot what it was, and some more stuff in here. So I'm gonna go into EC2 first because I think this is the most important tool in AWS. And EC2, again, what Jacob has mentioned, it's basically just having a VM in the cloud. And I have 3 instances here already. Test, proxy, RVB VPN. Don't worry about RVB VPN. But you go into here, if you haven't done AWS before, then this is probably going to be a blank screen for you. I'm going to go through the process of creating and using an instance. So I'm going to also be using the new EC2 experience because I'm sure they're going to make this the default. So this would be good to use. All right, I'm going to go into launch instances, and you have a multitude of steps what you need to do to launch an instance. It's not going to be really like tough to do, but it gives you that level of customization, what your business needs or what you want to get out of AWS. So we have AMIs or Amazon Machine Images, and you can kind of look down and you can kind of see it's some familiar stuff. You could kind of think of it like choosing an operating system or like uploading an ISO to your VM. So we have Amazon Linux, Red Hat, SUSE Linux, Ubuntu server. Jacob, I have a question for you. What AMI do you want me to use? You're muted. Jacob talking.
Oh wait, yeah, I was muted, sorry. I tried to get the Among Us one up, but it didn't work out so well. But I think WordPress or Splunk, like you said earlier, but I think WordPress would be a lot easier to showcase.
Okay. Also, more on the AMIs. You can make your own AMIs if you want to like make your own custom images with stuff. So, Jacob, if you want to do Among Us then you could probably make one and upload it to here. Did you search the marketplace for it by any chance?
Yeah, I did. I didn't find
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know they have it here, but AWS Marketplace is it's for other like providers to upload their own AMIs. So there's WordPress, there's OpenVPN server, there's also Kali on here as well. I know there's Splunk. I don't know how long Splunk takes. I haven't done that yet. But if you want to put Splunk on AWS, you can literally go into here, search up Splunk, and it sets it up for you. So you don't have to go through all the commands to download Splunk and install Splunk. They do it for you here. And this is like the beauty of AWS and like the large community. There's just like so many things that you can do, and so many companies are providing their resources for you to use in AWS. I'm gonna go with WordPress though. I've used this once, so I'm not sure how it's gonna go, but we're gonna go with it. We're gonna use WordPress. It gives you some costs and stuff. If you have a free tier, I don't know if this is like part of the free tier, but let's go with it. If we're gonna like play around with it, hopefully it won't cost us too much. Free tier eligible. Okay, we'll use that. And this will only be free if you're new to AWS for a year, or if you're new to AWS, you have this free tier thing for 12 months. But since I think this account, I don't know if this account is longer, has existed more than 12 months. So I probably won't get this for free. Next, I'm going to configure instance details. And if you created a VM before, this is where you like, configure where your networking is. Actually, I would say both of these steps are kind of like when you set up, how much RAM you have, how much storage you have, things like that. And I will say like for the instance types that you have, it's like you don't get to set your own number of RAM, your own number of CPUs. It's kind of like predetermined or self-defined. So you can select like classes of things. And this T2 micro instance is only going to have one virtual CPU and 1 gig of memory. So it's very meager, but it's free tier eligible. So we'll use that. But if you want like really beefy things, and you can select like the large ones. So we'll go with this, configure instance details. Number of instances, you can either specify how many you have, or you can create an auto scaling group. I think that's what Jacob talked about before, where you can get multiple EC2 instances to help cover your load. And you could determine what network you want to put your EC2 instance in, what subnet, and what like public IP you want. And this all ties in with the VPCs that Jacob talked about previously. There's other things that you can have in here if you want to play around with things, but I'm literally just gonna ignore this and go to add storage. And this is where you select how much gigs you want on your EC2. I usually just leave it as the default because I don't really do things on there. You can add tags to EC2 instances, and these just gives you like, tags just gives you like another way to organize your services. But I'm not gonna, actually, I'll just add a tag. Key, I don't know, purpose, value, Swift, meeting. And you could use these to filter out like what types of things are being used for different ways. Or for example, like you can have like a department tag in here. So department, marketing, things like that. And if you want to like filter out what services are being used, you can use tags to do that. So I guess we'll just add a tag on here, purpose with meeting. Security groups. This is pretty important. This is basically your firewall into your EC2 instance. It's important that you allow things that you only allow, like you only want to be allowed, and deny everything else. I think this should be good. If you use certain AMIs, they'll give you certain security groups. But if you're doing this all from scratch, it's important to know what exactly you want and then create your rules from there. You can edit your security groups after you create the instance. So if you need to change rules, then that's fine. But once again, it's important to note that you want to allow only the things that you want I'll just review and watch. It gives me a warning to like, you're allowing it from anywhere, but honestly, I don't really care. Review and launch. Let's go. We can look at everything else that's happening here. It kind of gives us a summary of what our instance is like. And then we're going to go into launch. And it says select the, oh shoot. Going to leave it. Okay. I guess it's, there we go. Jacob mentioned earlier that you need keys to access your EC2 instances. So if this is your first time using EC2, then you're going to have to create a new key pair. But because I already have one on here, I'm just going to use the one that's existing already. Launch instances. Oh yeah, the thing that Joseph Hawkins sent in chat. Yeah, he worked at AWS, but I guess he's working full-time there. If you'd want, a career at AWS, he would be the person to reach out. He's a really cool guy. I met him in classes before. He participates a lot, I would say. So it's a cool guy.
You're a cool guy.
Thank you.
You're all cool guys and gals.
Oh, you're cool.
Oh, you're cool.
Okay, hopefully this doesn't take too long. And people say cloud's really fast, but sometimes it takes forever. All right, so once we wait a while, it says that our instances are now launching. So that's really cool. Let's view our instances. So I'm only going to look at, how do I filter out? I'm going to rename this to Swift, and I'm just going to search Swift here. There you go. So I'm going to view this as if this is my only instance, and it looks like it's running. We have our instance ID, instance state, which says it's running, and some other details that we have on here. If you want to connect to this EC2 instance, you can either do it manually by opening up a terminal or an SSH client and going to that, but there's also an easy way to connect to it. And I think it's in, if you go okay, there we go. We're going to actions, connect. I guess the first option is EC2 is connect. We could just use that. Opens up a new, oh, what the hell? It opens up a new tab to show you like the terminal, but I think it might be like still setting up. So we might not be able to connect at this moment, but if we give it like a few minutes, then I'm sure we'll be able to connect to it. And even though like we did assign keys, SSH keys to this instance, you're still able to connect to it pretty easily without having to do anything on here. So we'll give it a little while, but does anyone have any like questions about AWS, about the CERT exam, about anything? Jacob,
Yes.
what are your thoughts on the AWS exam, cloud practitioner?
Pretty straightforward. It's a lot easier than most exams. I went through the Canvas course. I put in the background, so if you could get a hold of that Canvas course, I think that's really all you need. And then the practice questions on YouTube are pretty good too. But yeah.
YouTube?
Yeah.
You got practice questions on YouTube?
They do.
Right, not
Digital
Udemy?
Ocean. Oh no.
I hope it's just loading still. I'm gonna try connecting. Let's see if I open address. Oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
All right. I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So I don't know if this is like probably just like a setting thing. What if I like try Ubuntu? Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Anyways, because this is a WordPress site, we can access the site on here, and you could even do it as well. I'm gonna put it into the chat. Because this is like this is basically a VM on the internet, so it should be accessible from anywhere. So if you go to this IP in your browser, like I swear it doesn't have anything, it's literally WordPress. You will probably see this, and you could probably mess around with some things. I don't even know what the password is because you're supposed to do some like configuration stuff in the instance, which I hope I can connect to. Bruh. Okay. I'm gonna try SSHing from my own clients. I'll share my screen to that once it works, or hopefully if it works.
Leak creds. Leak creds.
I don't even know what the creds are. How can I leak them if I don't know what they are? Okay. What permission do I have? Public key? There's like some documentation on like what the username should be, right? Is it like
Yeah, it might be
value?
EC2 tech user or root.
Okay, let's look at the documentation for that. Well, I don't know if it's like
I
good
don't even know what it
documentation,
looks
but
like. Bitnami.
marketplace here, usage, user. Oh, username Bitnami. Okay, let's try that. Oh, okay, cool. So I'm gonna share my other screen. I just successfully SSH into the thing. So I am I'm in the EC2 instance, and I can kind of interact with it as I do with any other Linux machine. I can do that's open. I can look at the running services. I can change the host name if I wanted to. So this is basically to show that EC2 instances are literally VMs in the cloud, and you can interact with an EC2 instance as you would with a regular VM anywhere. So there's something I had to do, right, to get the password. Let me see. Find creds. Oh, there it is. Get system log. All right. So depending on the AMI, you're gonna have like different steps on how to like get it to run. So it looks like if I go into my instances, go into here, actions, get system log. So I'm out to like expose myself to, but if I could find the password, here's the password. So, what do I do with the password? I don't even know. Is it like actually for this? Oh, my screen's still my show. Right. You can see my desktop now, right?
Yes.
All right, so I get into the system log of the AWS instance, and it tells me the creds over here. So if you want to log into my EC2 instance,
Wait,
then
wait.
this is your chance. Well, you kind of need the SSH key, but let me see what I can do after.
I can change the site now though, can I?
Can you? Like, oh, the name application password. I'm actually a little bit confused. Honestly, I'm actually just gonna try this. If it works, then I'd be like kind of surprised because I haven't used this in a while. Okay, that's cool.
Yo.
It works. If you want to change the website or whatever, the creds are over here. Feel free to mess around with the website, but yeah, this is kind of a demonstration of how EC2 works. Again, it's literally VM on the cloud, but you can do really cool with it. And it was pretty easy to set up. You don't need to use any of your own resources to run these instances because they're all being hosted in the cloud or on someone else's computer. So if you do have any other questions, we'll be happy to answer in chat. But that's basically it for the meeting. Friday's workshop is going to be pretty exciting. We're going to have, I'm going to stop my share for now. We're going to have you guys go on to EC2 instances and look around, answer a few questions. We're actually going to have a CTF for that. You also have the opportunity to set up your own instance and get that skill, get those hands-on skills to know how to interact with EC2 instances and get the most out of them. What's a CTF? CTF stands for capture the flag. Basically, it's like answering questions and solving puzzles for cybersecurity and comp sci things. But something that we can use for our AWS workshop on Friday. So it'll be a good opportunity for you to put in your question or put in your answers for your questions and check if they're right or wrong. Well, that's about it. I'm gonna stop the recording now.